And gentlemen, welcome to the Rates and Lanes podcast. I'm your host, Rico Muhammad. I will be joined here really shortly by my co-host, Mr. Chuck Snow. Um, Tonight we have special guest Ray Veeneman. He's going to be joining us talking about the used truck market. Kind of give us an update since the last time that Ray was on with us to let us know kind of what's going on out there in the market, what the prices are looking like, what availability is looking like, and possibly, hopefully, maybe be able to tell us and guide us on where we might be able to find a good deal on a truck, or kind of guide us as to the buying process or even the trading in or selling process as well if you're in the market to try to upgrade your equipment. So these are all the things that we want to talk about tonight. If you have questions about the used truck market or anything of that nature, feel free to type it down in the chat, send it over to us. We'll try our best to make sure that we get it up on the air. Also, if you're watching us, it would do us a great service if you would like, share, and subscribe to the video, whether it be on Facebook, YouTube, or if you're on Instagram. We're broadcasting live on Instagram as well. So if you don't mind, please, it helps us out. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Send the link over to anyone that you know that this information might be useful and helpful to. We are greatly appreciative for you doing so. And with that being said, and without any further ado, I'm going to welcome my co-host, Mr. Chuck Snow, in to the show right now. Good evening, Chuck. How are you?
We're doing great, Rico. How are you doing?
I really cannot complain. Excited and ready to go for tonight's show. I think that it's a timely. It's been a little while since we had Ray on, and it's probably a good time for us to be checking in with them to see how the market is performing and see if things are, as far as prices have started coming back to earth, or are they still out in the stratosphere?
Yeah, you know what? I'm looking forward to hearing what's being said on the and what's being felt on the front lines of truck sales. From what I'm hearing from talking to my sources, I know with the new trucks, people order. Some of the bigger players order 50 or 100, and they're lucky to get 10. That's what's going on so far because there's components missing and all sorts of stuff still going on. And that has an effect on the used market, of course, which we'll hear from Ray. I was just reading an article today. Three large carriers, one of them being a Canadian, and they've changed their the longevity cycle. They're keeping trucks now for 6 years instead of 4. So that really affects things. And as a result, they've had to really up their inventory in parts like filters and brake parts and all sorts of stuff.
Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ready to bring Ray up and on board with us. But if you have a question, you can type it down in the chat below. If you're on Facebook, you can type it in the chat. I'm not sure if the chat feature is working on Instagram because we can't see the Instagram feed as we're broadcasting live. But if you have a question on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, if you have a question on any of those platforms, all you have to do is type it in the comments, and it should find its way over here to us, and we'll try to make sure that we weave it in and get it up and on board on the show. But without any further ado, let's welcome our special guest this evening, Mr. Ray Veeneman. Ray, good evening. How are you?
Hey, good afternoon or good evening, guys. Good to see you both.
Always good to have you on.
So, Ray, I guess, to kind of get right into the meat of the matter, since the last time we talked, we're seeing that truck prices, used truck prices in particular, and even the new truck prices, we're out in the stratosphere, out in outer space. What can you tell us? Give us an update as far as pricing is concerned and availability. How are things looking on the truck market right now?
Sure, I'll address. So, I'll remind everybody I'm from Canada. I'll address a little bit of both the Canada and the U.S. market as I'm speaking, because our parent company is Rush USA, of course, with head office in Texas. So. I was just in Texas last month in meetings, actually sales meetings and management meetings, and they've experienced in the used market quite a slowdown in the sleepers and even some day cab market as well, but primarily in the sleeper market. As far as new truck sales, the demand is still there. The OEMs are still running behind. They just can't keep up, with all the shortages, right? And that's the supply chain has made a tremendous impact on manufacturing. Unfortunately, at the beginning of COVID, it was staffing, and nobody seems to have really caught up from that. So, excuse me. So there's still a huge supply chain shortage. The used trucks started slowing down, I would say, in April and May of last year, of 2022, in the US. We didn't feel that impact here in Canada quite as severely and as quickly as the Americas, you guys did in the States. We are starting now to see our buyers being a little bit more selective on what they're buying. They're no longer racing at the higher mileage trucks, very similar to what they did in the US. That stuff is all slowed down. So that's bringing the overall pricing down on used trucks. Our class 6, 7 trucks are still pretty strong. There still seems to be a big demand for that, not only here in Canada, but for sure in the US. That's a big part, excuse me, large percentage of their actually sales in the US is the class 6 and 7. And
Is that because of is a lot of that because of the online shopping? Does it put a lot of pressure on those classes of trucks?
I'd have to say, Chuck, it's always been a great part of our business, but I think during COVID and now, people are learning to deliver stuff differently. And because there's maybe less, I want to say, retail, the traditional retail going to the mall shopping. So yeah, they're now the Amazons and all the other companies like that, and even the malls are delivering directly now to customers. Even grocery shopping. I mean, I see people having groceries delivered on my street pretty regularly now.
Yeah. So I guess that's where some of that equipment is going. Now, have you seen? Is there a huge uptick in that overall?
In the class 6, 7 stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so. Certainly, the demand is stronger right now and lasting, and we're seeing people getting into the business that we would never have seen before. One, just because of licensing. Now, it's interesting. They all are starting up, but not realizing the paperwork that goes with that and the licensing. You still need your CVORs when you're doing commercial transportation. Excuse me, which a lot of the guys that have actually bought trucks didn't realize they required that. And they're getting a shock, of course, with the insurance is to cover all of that stuff.
Yeah. So, and that's part of the business.
So the inventory is still kind of low. Prices is still kind of high relatively.
Yeah, I would say for new trucks, for sure, Rico. I could tell you, I sat on a meeting on a call this morning with one of our good customers, very good customer, that was supposed to get, let's say, 50 trucks last July.
Mm-hmm.
And they just keep getting pushed out and pushed out and pushed out because of supply chain. And it's not just them, it's everybody. All the trucks that didn't get built in 2022, of course, get pushed to 2023, which then pushes the 2023 orders out. And it's just been an ongoing thing. And it's interesting, the supply chain that I speak of. When you think you've got it all figured out, or just about all, we believe it or not, we had a frame shortage just recently.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. So
those are made in North America, so we can't even blame Asia or some other country, some other region.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I don't think we like to blame anybody. I think because we're all experiencing the same issues. So it's just, but when and people hear it, but until it actually affects them personally, then they start to understand it. And like I say, this one customer, I was on the call today, and I've been dealing with this for almost 2 years with this group, trying to satisfy their order. And we had to have some big wheels from Navistar on the call, to qualify what we've been telling them all along, and to try to reassure them that we are trying to schedule and do the best that we can. And, you know, if you're a bit suspect at all, you'd think, well, they just canceled my orders to put someone else in, which isn't the case. We're trying to split production to kind of keep everybody a little bit happy, and it's a juggle. It's a very difficult thing.
So this
So
is
I
the
guess
case
the
of,
little guy will.
things going downhill as far as what I mean by you can't get the newer truck orders out to the bigger customers, therefore preventing them from being able to trade in a lot of their used equipment. So that's why everything is still so tight as far as the market is concerned.
Yeah, used trucks, we're starting to see things loosen up now, Rico, because we're seeing guys that scrambled to buy whatever they wanted and whatever they could, let me put it that way, are now realizing that, you know, they don't want to put the extra money in, because now they're getting close to requiring an engine rebuild or some major overhaul. So we're starting to see more stuff come in. And as I said earlier, the lease and rental fleets are starting to get new inventory in, so we're able to pull trucks from that and give them out to the public as well, or sell them to the public as well.
Now, Ray, do you ever get trucks from your? I realize that that Rush run up in Canada is in the rental and leasing business, but I know you put trucks into the competition, Penske and Ryder. Do you ever get trucks from them, or do they just resell all their own?
So I buy, I buy wherever I can, whenever I can, to satisfy the needs of all our dealerships
Right.
here in Canada. And I do buy stuff to sell, but Penske and Ryder and the likes have been as tight with inventory, and we've just noticed in the last sale, or the Ritchie Brothers sale, there was a bunch of, I believe, Penske units in there that we haven't really seen for a while, because they've had the same problem, right? They can't,
Sure.
rental and leasing, but you judge it more by rental. Rental utilization has been extremely high for everybody like us in the rental and leasing business. So we were at 98% utilization, and I'd say sometimes higher than that, which we haven't seen. We haven't enjoyed that in a number of years. So when you've got that demand, it's pretty hard to sell trucks and give them up when you're making money on them. And even the trucks that are towards the end of their life, and of course, as you can imagine, rental and leasing fleets depreciate their trucks like businesses do.
Of course.
And they're kind of at not the end of their depreciation, but they're depreciated down to a point where we're actually starting to make money. And rental fleets tend to make most of their money when they get rid of the asset.
Yeah.
So now we're making a little bit more money because we've been able to enjoy a bigger write down, or depreciation, if you will.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Ray, because you're saying that a lot more trucks are starting to make their way to the used truck market because they may be coming up on more expensive repairs or something coming down the road, maybe getting close to an engine overhaul or something of that nature. So for small guys out there, like the people that are in our audience, the 1 and 2 truck, 1 to 5 truck owner operator or fleet owners, that may be a little concerning if they're very discriminating when it comes to type of trucks that they want to add to their fleet if they're on the used truck market. What would you advise someone in that position that's looking at something available right now? What kind of I guess what I'm asking is, what kind of checks and balances should they be trying to do to make sure that they're getting a decent piece of equipment?
Well, I mean, I think we've talked about this, at great length, but I think there's a lot of guys in the industry. There's a lot of good guys in the industry. And there's a lot of guys in the industry. I think you have to be very comfortable with who you deal with. And, you know, I've been around way too long, but I've got, you know, I'm in the business obviously to make money. Everybody has to make money, but I don't want to see people lose money. I want people, and I try to um, encourage our sales guys to do the same thing. We are really partners. It's a different market. You have to partner with who you're selling equipment to, and pick and choose really who you sell to, because you want a good partner on the other end as well.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
you know, everybody wants a win-win, and that's what we have to try to do. So I think, so to answer your question, and taking way too long, the first thing is to feel comfortable with who you're dealing with. I'd say just about all of my customers now are my friends. And I say that because I really enjoy them. I like going out with them. We do stuff together. They know a lot of my personal life now, and I know theirs. So, you know, that makes selling, but it's not even selling at that point. It's, you know, you're just helping each other out. But you know, you got to look at the trucks. The problem with COVID is everybody was buying, just panic buying. They felt they needed trucks. They got scared into buying toilet paper. They got scared into buying trucks. And I think I can tell you, I spoke with a person today. I'm not going to mention names, so it doesn't matter, but they sent me an email. I don't know them. They bought this truck from another dealer. They've had it 3 months. It's a 20. I'm going to get this wrong. It was either 20 or 21. I can check, but I think it was a 20. They paid 3 months ago $180,000 for
Oh,
it.
Good Lord.
And they wanted to trade it in. It's a sleeper truck. They wanted to trade it in for a day cab. And I said, I can't help you. I really can't help you. You're going to take such a loss. You're better off to ride this truck out. But $180,000 they paid for this truck, which is probably at the time $70,000 too much.
whoa. Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Well, there was
Okay.
nothing on the market, and it was panic. You know what? It was panic buying. People were buying, pardon my language, on the radio here on the show, but people were buying stupid shit out of desperation.
Yeah. And you know, I don't think it was real desperation, if you know what I mean. I think
Yes,
Right.
desperation in their head.
yeah, exactly. And they saw a truck, you
Imagine.
gotta buy it. And
Yeah.
and you know, it's funny, our sales guy, we just didn't get into that, which was really
Well,
nice.
well, one thing I want is, when it comes to used trucks, I mean, you know, you guys, you're taking it in on a trade or whatever, or if you're buying it and reselling it. Let's just be honest about it. And you know, you guys may not necessarily do. You guys not necessarily going in and pulling the valve covers off and going in and doing end frames or nothing like that on a truck that you're trying to flip. So I don't think that that's within reasonable expectation as far as you guys are concerned. You know, you're buying it and you're trying to resell it. That's the business that you guys are in. But as a consumer, the people that are listening in, it's our responsibility to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to make sure that we're getting a solid truck when we're in the buying process. I'm just saying that with the availability of trucks, that makes things a hell of a lot more harder to find those trucks, since you got so many that's coming back in that are right there at that point where close to needing an end frame or something of that nature. The extended warranties, the aftermarket warranties, are those something that may help someone out in a situation if they're buying something older like that, or is it maybe too expensive to even, once they're at a certain point, is it too expensive for those to even be financially feasible?
Well, I think the extended warranties are good. They're for a number of reasons. They're good. I shouldn't say for a number. They're good for certain people. And for some people, it creates or adds peace of mind. So they don't mind paying the extra money for that peace of mind. And I have a friend like that right now it's funny, we were talking about it today. He'd rather pay that money up front, and that way he thinks he's covered. He may not be covered with that for everything, but he can go to bed and sleep at night thinking he's got that insurance. But the one thing you have to remember with any aftermarket insurance or warranty, excuse me, you have to make sure that it's dealt with properly and your fleet knows how to work with it. So if it goes to a dealership, you have to remember that, and you have to state it at the beginning that this truck has whichever warranty. There's a number of them out there. So, you could say NTP or True North or whichever, even an OEM warranty, but you must state it when you go into the dealership and say, this has this, because each warranty has certain criteria that you have to follow to maintain that warranty. So if if it broke down, they first have to notify the warranty carrier. Then they have to take pictures of what broke. Also, if there was any collateral damage, and plus they have to find the cause. That has to be reported to the warranty company, and then they will either approve or deny or ask for more detail.
Or documentation.
Correct. And they'll definitely ask for that and a quote. And some dealerships don't like to deal with that because it now takes what might have taken, in the triage, it may have taken 2 hours. Now it's probably going to take 4 hours.
It's tying up a bay waiting for, I guess it's tying up a bay waiting for a go-ahead from the warranty company, correct?
Correct.
Tying up a bay and man hours.
And you're looking for more that's maybe not really there. You're doing more work than just the initial triage saying, okay, this is what's broken, I got to fix it. You're maybe not looking at the cause so much, or you're definitely looking at collateral damage because that's obvious. But aftermarket warranty is great as long as you manage it properly. And
so you have to understand that it's kind of similar to a little bit of a unrelated to trucking, so to speak. But I was sitting talking to my wife called me the other day, and I stepped out, and she said, my diamond is missing out of my ring. And I'm like, okay, well, it's supposed to be covered under the warranty. So she's like, well, I think I felt it in the bed. So luckily we found the diamond.
Oh, good.
But when we took it back to the jeweler, their warranty is very similar. Their warranty covers the jewelry for the life of the life of however long you have it, but you have to bring it in every 6 months to have it inspected. Luckily, we had brought it in within those 6. So every 6 months, in order for the warranty to stay intact or stay in place, it must be inspected or whatever. So it's similar to, I guess, like we're saying with the used truck warranty as well. You need to understand not only, okay, well, I paid for a warranty, but you need to understand what's in the fine print of the warranty so that you can stay within make sure that you are well within the confines of whatever the structure of the warranty is, so that it will be covered at the time when it needs to be when it needs to take care of what it's supposed to take care of.
Yeah, and you hate to say fine print because that's always, kind of has a negative connotation to it. But I can give you an example. One of the warranty carriers was in town last summer, and I was talking to him, and I've got a pretty good relationship with them. And they were saying that one of the shops, they actually had to discontinue them, allowing them to do work for the warranty. And I said, well, why was that? He said, well, we got really looking at it, and we were getting very similar claims. And so we thought we would check the history on the claims. And of course, the warranty clerks may not always be the same one handling the claim. And they looked at the pictures, and they had 7 of the same pictures faults for different trucks. And in this case, I think it was an alternator thing, but it was the same picture for every truck. They didn't even take new pictures. They just kept sending. So yeah, it's interesting.
Wasn't there a Ford truck dealer in Ontario that got caught doing that, if I'm not mistaken, who is a politician, Al Palladini?
Yes.
Ago. And that's what he was doing. He was doing all these Ford and I guess OEM or engine work on large trucks, and he had this huge business, and all these bills were being padded. And
Oh, is that
actually,
right?
yeah, and Ford actually stopped. I don't know whether they closed down the dealership. My understanding is they stopped them from selling trucks.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. So you know what? It's every time one of these crooks decides to try something, it's never new. Somebody's already done it.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. You're reading that from Gino Cook there.
Yeah, yeah, he put it up, threw it in there. Make sure that you are staying up on your routine maintenance and keep good records and receipts.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's absolutely critical.
And that should be done regardless anyway, right?
Right.
If
you ever go through a DOT audit, they're going to ask for some of that stuff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't assume. My experience has been with a car warranty. Just because a vehicle goes into the dealership and everything looks like it's been done, don't assume anything's been done. You've got to ask questions.
Yeah.
And get proof. Ray and I know my experience with the Genesis car. I don't want to go into it and bore anybody, but I think I told you too, Rico.
Yeah.
I'll have to say that for another show for horrors. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a show on trucks, not cars.
So when we're looking at trying to source stuff, and it's maybe kind of hard out there, is there any kind of way to work the relationship with the people that say, like yourself, like, okay, some people may be saying, why the heck we got Ray on here, he way in Canada? Well, let you know, one benefit is the relationship that Chuck has with Ray, that he kind of has parlayed to us as well. So you have a built-in relationship kind of already established. But another little caveat that I found out, I didn't get a chance to take full advantage of it just yet, but the United States dollar is a little bit stronger than the Canadian dollar. So you might be paying dollars if you happen to do a little business with Ray and you catch something. If he can help you out, and if you can find something through his network and dealing with him, you may have to pay a little bit of extra money on the shipping side of it, but that's not a huge hurdle either. So you may even come out way ahead if you're able to find some things. But if someone's in the market and they're looking for some used trucks or whatever right now, Ray, how would you advise them if there's nothing out there, nothing available? How would you advise them to deal with either yourself or somebody, or if they have someone that they are dealing with on anywhere else? How do they kind of make sure that they can get their hands, or have the opportunity, I should say, to be able to pick something up from someone with the inventory still being so low?
So, Rico, I don't know if in this chat if you can do it. I don't think I have the ability to do it, but you could put my number up there if you want.
Absolutely.
But if I don't have the equipment here, I can certainly put any of your listeners in touch with any of the other dealers here. One thing I can help them with is I export a lot of trucks, so I know all the ins and outs. I know the roading companies. I can arrange all of that for them as well. But to get, your point about the U.S. exchange, and you're right, a lot of Americans don't understand this. Like, they should all be holidaying in Canada because their dollar goes a lot further. Like, to give you an example, right now, $74,000 US is worth 100,000 Canadian. So
it's quite significant. That's pretty significant.
A lot of money.
And that's I just now, Chuck, I don't know if I used the right exchange, but that was one point. I just used the what's the app here? I'll tell you 1 second here.
You're pretty close, Ray. Almost. And you know what? For our American listeners, it fluctuates every day by a penny or two, but overall, Ray is pretty bang on. So if you're looking for and it's funny because when I look at the prices in the U.S., and Ray, correct me if I'm wrong, but quite often when I'm looking at used trucks in the United States and I see a truck is 80,000 US, that same truck up in Canada quite often is 80,000 Canadian.
Yeah, or less.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you can save, you know what? When's the last time you got to save 30 or 35% on a truck purchase? Unless you happen to go to an auction and you are the only one there for some weird reason, it ain't going to happen. So it's a great opportunity, and a lot of American buyers, knowledgeable buyers, do buy their equipment up in Canada because of that.
Yeah.
And so just to be, nobody, Ray didn't pay me to say this or nothing like this, but it behooves you to make sure. Ray, which number do you want me to put in here? I didn't want to just put your cell phone number.
Yeah, I know. Go ahead. Put my cell phone number up there.
Okay.
It's 416-816-5239. If a woman answers, hang up.
So let me make sure I got this right. 416-816-5239.
That's correct.
All right. So this is Ray's personal number. So
And
it gives everyone an opportunity. If you're in the market, maybe save the number, give Ray a call, establish contact, let him know what you may be looking for, and he definitely is very responsive if he can do something for you. But you opportunity to save some money, save significant amount of money, and that's one way. Hopefully, you benefited by watching tonight's show. So we're going to put Ray's number up out there, and there it is right there. It's up on the screen. Go ahead and make sure that you write that down, save it, put it in your contacts. Maybe even go on LinkedIn, reach out to Ray on LinkedIn. I know he's on LinkedIn. But introduce yourself. Say you saw him on the show and you appreciated him coming on and sharing some information with us tonight. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that there's a little bit of an opportunity to be had by making sure that you do reach out and contact Ray and talking to him and get established, so that you can take advantage of, because that is a huge savings that could be had if you're in the market and you wanted to pick something up, and Ray may be able to very well help you out and assist you with doing that.
And Chuck and Rico, I'm happy to introduce whoever calls to any of the other manufacturers or brands here in Canada too. I know them all very well. Like we've all been in the industry a long time, and we've all got relationships. So it doesn't have to be just our trucks. I'm happy to, if I don't have something that suits their needs, we'll find something, or I'll connect them with the people that do have. But it's a neat experience, honestly. But having said that, we've got 140 dealers in the U.S. I'm happy to help them with too. But it's a neat experience. If you haven't bought here in Canada, it's kind of a neat experience.
Yeah, there's nothing to shipping them across. Rico has a friend of his mechanic, that just bought some trucks from you, and I got positive feedback from everybody.
Absolutely.
Everybody was happy with the trucks. And now the one thing I will say, and kudos to you and your team, Ray. As you know, I bought several of your trucks through the years. And the one thing is, the used trucks are spec'd really well. There's no weird, nothing has ever been offered to me that had some weird spec.
Actually, the last batch that like I say, my mechanic that he bought, he raved about the process, how easy it was to set up to get them shipped down, and just how much of a pleasure it was to actually do business. And he was like, man, I'm glad you happened to turn me on to that guy, because I tell you, he was able to save a significant amount of money. I think he got about 3 or 4 trucks from you guys, Ray.
I think so. And actually, I haven't talked to Eddie for a while, and I'm looking forward to one day having a beer with him. So you have to make sure you say hi for me.
Absolutely. But yeah, nothing but good things to say about the whole process. So that's another benefit. And if you're going to be, and that takes a little bit of ease off of your mind when you got someone on the other end that is proficient at handling all of that stuff for you and getting it prepared. Like Ray said, he knows the transporters and all that stuff, and can just make it a heck of a lot easier and smoother of a process, instead of you we were just talking a little bit before the show. airplane tickets are so cheap right now. You know, you might be able to just fly up if you wanted to, fly up to grab your passport, fly up and go on over and drive back down. But you know, that's up to you and however you want to handle it. But hey, you know, there's an opportunity to be had there for you.
Rico, all the trucks I bought from Ray through the years, I have never once gone to his lot to go look at any of them. It's all been over the phone. He tells me how they're spec'd, what mileage is on them, what size sleeper, and we make a decision, and the price, of course, and we make a decision right there. He has sent me pictures of them.
Yeah.
But you know, if you have somebody reputable you're dealing with, it's just kind of nice. It's wonderful. You have a trust, you have a relationship, and away you go. And that person knows you need equipment. They know what you're looking for. Again, as Ray said at the beginning of the show, it's about the partnership.
It's funny you say that, Chuck, about not looking at them. I remember when you called me the other day and I had my buddy in the car, or my buddy came in the car. We were going to the Storm hockey game.
Yes. Yeah.
And he asked me who you were after, you know, when we hung up and stuff. And I told him, and I said, I've known of Chuck for 30 years and Chuck's known of me. And the last few years, you bought a number of trucks. And I said, John, Chuck has never come to look at one. Chuck has never been in my office and has never looked at one truck. He just trusted me to send him a good truck. And I said, they're not always good, but they're okay. And
good trucks, you know, the odd one will have a little problem, a glitch here and there, but your guys have been good. Actually, the support I've gotten from everybody, you know, and that includes all the some of the other dealers as well that handle internationals and Cummins engines, have been, you know, it's been excellent.
Yeah.
So Ray, I'm gonna shift gears on you a little bit, and I'm gonna ask you to, you know, if you can help us out, give us a little bit of advice on the flip side. We talked about buying the truck, but now what if someone has a truck that they're trying to get rid of, they're trying to sell? Is there anything that any advice would would it be better? Would it be more beneficial for them? I'm just gonna ask you straight up.
Yeah.
Send it to an auction, try to do on trade-in. Where would they maybe be able to get the best bang for their buck as far as being able to sell that truck? If they want to get down and dirty, of course, they probably would be able to make more money if they were able to advertise it and sell it closer to you know, on the market like that. But if they wanted to have a quick get in and get out, would an auction be the way to go? Would trade in? Are they going to get a good value on trade in? And I got a follow up on that part as well, but I'll stop right there for a second and let you answer that portion.
Sure. So, you know, the scenario really makes a difference on how. So if it's quick money they're looking for, you know, you have to find an auction that is, you know, in the immediate future. I would follow the auctions. Like, you know, I do watch the auctions closely. Any given day when there's an auction on, you'll hear the people that have offices close to me can't stand it because I've got 3 screens going and I'm looking at pricing and comparing and trying to answer phones but the market we have seen a decline in the retail auction market, not only in pricing but actually even in participation. You know, you can see on the screen, because everything's online now, you can see how many people are actually registered. You can see how many people are viewing. And then, you know, at the end of the day, you can judge by the pricing. And I constantly go online, even after the sales, and do comparison pricing myself, because I get 30% of our lease fleet comes back to me that we have to resell. So I try to put fair market values on it. So I use a bunch of different tools to assess the values, and the auction would be one of them. Kijiji is really another good source to use. I seem to find that if you're selling your own truck, and it's a working truck, mind you, it's working. The guy that owns the truck seems to be able to sell it and get more money for it than me as a dealer. Mm-hmm. I don't know why that is.
Because you know where he lives, Ray. That's why. And if the guy's selling I think, in my mind, that if somebody is, if they're going to sell a truck privately, it's usually a good truck because they're going to, number one, that guy you sold the truck to knows where you live. Number two, you're going to see him up and down the road.
Right. Right.
And if it's not a good truck, well, then or you've got issues, then you do send it to an auction, or you send it so you have some anonymity.
Right. Right. And you know, it amazes me the prices they were getting at auctions and not knowing at all what they're buying. And of course, no recourse either.
No, right.
Right.
And so you know, one of the options you mentioned, Rico, I believe, was trade-in.
Right.
Trade-in is good, of course, if you intend on purchasing another vehicle. If you just want the dealer to buy it and give you cash, that's something that I do and other dealers do as well. But again, of course, it has to make sense to the dealer because they have to make money. And there's an old fella that businessman in Mississauga, Ontario here that said to me, Ray, never, ever, ever do I change 4 quarters for $1. Meaning he's got to make money on every transaction. And we've got a really big house to feed, you know, so our overhead's big. So we do have to make money. We don't have to gouge and we don't have to make a lot of money, but we have to make money. And
Right.
of course, when someone trades a vehicle to us, we have to put it through the steps and stages to make sure that when we resell it, it's going to be a good product to resell. So we have to offer less money. Now, if you want guaranteed money, you want quick money, and you need it right away, a dealer's a good option to go because there's no hassle. You may not get exactly the dollar value you had. You have to manage your expectations, right? A big part of business, life in general, is managing your expectations. Yes. And if you're true to yourself, then, you know, a dealer's not a bad option. You're going to get paid. It's guaranteed money. You know, the check's not going to bounce. And so it's a good part of it. You know, managing your expectations is a big part of anything. And my mentor way back in the day, he said, Ray, one thing when you're in business and you're in life, you got to remember, don't believe your own press releases. And that has always stuck with me. I thought that was one of the best pieces of advice, is because you can get caught up in your own ego, right?
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
I thought that was one of the best pieces of advice. And so if your customers and your listeners and can manage, and if they truly want just to get out, the dealer might be the quickest and easiest option.
So similarly to like we talked about before with the warranty and everything, make sure you got your documentation as far as all the stuff, maintenance and everything like that. When it comes to somebody trying to sell their truck, whether it be auction, whether it be to a dealership or private market, what things would you recommend, or does it matter as far as, I guess it wouldn't matter so much if you're selling it directly to the dealership, but what things should they make sure that they kind of have documented or prepared, already have done to the truck or to prepare it for sale?
Yeah, absolutely. So Rico, what we do is, you know, it's funny, I'm just going through that with one in particular right now, but there's usually money outstanding. There's loans outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, documentation is very important. So I always look at the ownership, or in your case in the US, I think you call them titles.
Right.
I want a copy of the title, and I compare the VIN number, the serial number on the title and what's on the truck because quite often you can get people to have, you know, not corresponding documentation. And then I do a lien search, and if they have a loan, they should bring their loan documentation with them as well. Because what happens is if there's an outstanding loan on the truck, there's 2 ways you can handle it. You can have the customer pay the loan out. They won't receive money from me until I actually have a lien release from the finance company that was holding the paper. Or I could pay the loan company myself. I say loan company because it could be a bank, it could be a private lender, but you know, the people holding the paper, if I would pay them directly. It expedites the the release of the lien, if you will, when I do it that way. So, but if I'm paying them more than what's outstanding on the truck, I can do that in two ways. I can put the check in both names, or when I get approval from the finance company, I can make two checks, one for the customer and one for the lien holder. So it varies depending on, the circumstances again, but documentation is key. It helps too if you have current maintenance records. I'll quite often have a guy that says, "Look, my truck's got 1.2 million on it, but I did the engine." Yeah, did you? And what did you do on the engine? Did you power spray it, power wash it, or did you actually overhaul it?
Right.
And so, and if you did the engine 500,000 miles ago, man, it doesn't really matter anymore. There's no value. It's I renovated my bathroom, but that was for me, not for anybody else, right? So I got the use out of it already. So if it's current stuff, it surprises me how many people come in and say, "I just had the engine done." So, well, do you have the documentation? No, I don't.
Nope.
And that's
useless.
They say, "Well, I paid cash for it." Well,
shouldn't have.
Well, that was a choice. You didn't want to pay tax on it. That was a choice you make. So now you're not going to benefit from the resale on it. Right. So you have to manage how you want to do business. I don't think
that receipt and if there's any warranty on that engine, that's gold. I remember buying a wreck truck once that had just had the engine rebuilt, and I had documentation, and we pulled the engine out. And I got a lot of money for that motor.
Yeah, that's a perfect example, Chuck. I mean, that's exactly it.
Yeah. A guy came in and, he saw that we had documentation and proved that thing was actually rebuilt. And you know what, that's the difference between night and day.
Yeah. So Ray, I got another question going back to the buying part. If someone's in the market to buy, not sure if you can answer it or not, but I'm gonna throw it at you anyway. When it comes to someone looking to buy, hopefully they have their institution and their financing and everything already together. But is that something that dealerships can help assist someone out with, or is that something that you guys up that way can help if they're interested? Is that something that you guys can assist with? And if you have any idea, what are interest rates looking like at this point in time?
I mean, they're going up for sure, but it's, one thing I've experienced in the last, I'd say 5 or 7 years, there's a whole lot of brokers that have come out of the woodwork selling finance for bigger companies, but they're brokers.
They're great.
Pardon me?
They are great, those brokers.
Well, they are, but remember, they're making some of them are.
But they got to make money too.
Some of them are making a lot of money, and you have to understand, and it's, Chuck, Ryan and I were just having this conversation last night. We went out to Harper's for dinner, and we were talking about finance and talking about understanding money and understanding what you're getting for the value. And people will quite often look at payments as, well, I can afford $1,200 a month.
Right.
So it's very easy for a broker to structure $1,200 a month, whether it be over 60 months, whether it be over 72,
payment packing.
Pardon me?
Payment packing.
Well, and that's it, right? You've just created the retirement fund for the broker, and you have to be cognizant of that. So you need to ask what the rate is, what the administration fee is, what the final buyout is, if there is one, if it's an open loan so that you can pay it off without penalties. I had someone the other day that wanted to pay their truck off and felt that, I've had it for it's a 5-year loan. I've had it for 3. I should only owe this much, but there was quite a penalty.
Prepayment penalty?
To pay it out. Yeah. It was a locked in loan and they didn't realize that. So it's really interesting, the different scenarios, and there's a lot of them. And,
That's
I
the
would.
benefit. That's the benefit. I'm sorry, Ray. I didn't mean to cut you off, but that is absolute the benefit that hopefully be naturally inquisitive, ladies and gentlemen. Ask questions.
Yeah.
Always ask questions. Don't take things for granted and just think that. What I try to remind people of is, at the end of the day, this is a business, and in business, you're not necessarily in the United States. People are so consumer protection laws. People think that, I got consumer protection law, but once you're in business, every transaction is, not to say that it has to it has to be this way, but it's adversarial. You got to look out for your own best interests, and so you
100%.
have to make sure that you're reading what it is that you're getting yourself involved in. And if you don't have the time or whatever, you need to make sure that someone on your team, whether it be a CPA or if you have an attorney or someone else, is reading this documentation so that they can explain it to you, to make sure that you understand what it is that you are signing up for, what you're getting yourself obligated to. That is absolutely critical. And like I say, just be naturally
Rico, I couldn't. You know what? I couldn't agree more. Because, and I'll give you a great example. Years ago, when we were, and this goes back about 25 years ago, I went to go and buy some trailers from a guy. At least some trailers. There was a guy out in Toronto, in the Toronto area in those days, and he leased trailers. He was a financial leasing company, but he had ins at all the trailer companies, and he dealt new and used, and he had some trailers available. And I asked him how much they were and how much the payments were, and how much the residual was going to be at the end. And I said, what interest rate are you using? And he said 8%. And I did the numbers, and they didn't look right. So I called my accountant and said, can you look at this? This is our CA, the company CA. And he called back and he said, what interest rate did the guy tell you? I said, 8%, which I thought was pretty fair. I said, but it didn't look right. He said, no, it was 16%.
Yeah.
Because
that happens a lot.
Yes, because the devil is in the details.
Yeah.
And that wasn't with a broker. That was with the actual leasing company. So you know what? You're right. There's find out what the penalty. Usually there is a penalty with with breaking a lease, even with a mortgage, with anything, because that bank or financial institution has agreed to tie up that money for 48 months or 60 months.
So make sure you understand the truth in lending, truth in leasing.
We don't have that. We don't have that in Canada.
That's one of the benefits. But make sure that it would be wise of you, so that you don't get yourself taken advantage of, and you should be doing it probably anyway. Is any major purchase and stuff like that, make sure you're running that through your CPA as well, so that they can make sure that you're structuring everything properly to get yourself tax purpose wise, make sure you're in a good position.
But any of your listeners, if they want to, they can call me and just ask me any of those questions that we talked about. It's hard to remember all that stuff. I deal with it every day, and like I said, for me, we have salespeople that sell. I enjoy this part of it, the business part of it. So I'm happy to guide anybody through it and help out anytime.
Absolutely, we appreciate it. Thanks, Timler, for the compliment. So I'm looking at the time. We're getting close on that. So Ray, if you don't mind, once again, we have your number up. I'm gonna go back and make sure that we put it up again. But tell the people how they can find you, how they can get in contact with you.
Absolutely. So head office for me is Rush Canada. I'm vice president of vehicle remarketing for Rush Canada for all of Canada. And I'll give you my personal email address, which is Ray, RAY, at Veeneman, V as in Victor, EE, N as in Norman, E, man, MAN.ca. So that's Ray at Veeneman.ca. My phone number is 416-816-5239. And folks, you don't have to buy from us. If you just want some
They
advice,
should.
yeah, no, but it's not a Ray show. This isn't about buying from me, and I appreciate all the the push, but it's more about helping you guys and your listeners, and that's what's fun for me. That truly is what's fun for me. And if you decide at one point you want to buy from us, I'm happy to help you with that. But it's more the just talking, because I can learn as much from you people that are actually in the business, driving, that are crossing the borders, and I'll learn from you guys just like you'll learn from me. So it's all fun, honestly.
Well, Ray, we appreciate you for taking time out of your schedule to come on the show and join us. Explain so much wealth of information. Hopefully, everyone got something out of tonight. Ray's email is now up on the. You should be able to see it on the screen, and also his phone number. I'm going to toggle between the two, so you have his contact information. And like I said, jump on LinkedIn, reach out whenever we have guests on the show or whatever. It always, just as a act of practice, get involved on LinkedIn. Learn how to work LinkedIn, and get familiar with that platform instead of those. Social media is a big thing. A lot of people's Facebook, Instagram, and all that stuff, but LinkedIn is the professional social media network, and you want to make it. It would be great if you guys would reach out to different people on there, and that way you start to build your network, and you start to build some people around you that may be able to help you out and assist you with your business. And you kind of already have a hopefully they've had a good experience here on the show, and they'll definitely remember that, hey, I did do this little podcast with these guys, and okay, so people are coming and following up with me, so that gives you a little bit more familiarity, and people do business with people who they like, and hopefully we can facilitate opening the door to new relationships.
That's what it's all about.
So we appreciate it once again, Ray. Thank you for your time and for your information. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, a little bit more housekeeping before we get out of here. Like, share, and subscribe to the video. We are going to have this video. We will repost it up on Instagram. It's showing live on Instagram right now. We'll repost it into our regular post. So if you want to go on Instagram to see it, so that's why our format looks a little different than it normally looks. We kind of look all bunched in here, but I have the video formatted strictly to be able to share on Instagram, because before, when we were doing the videos, it was not formatted as optimally for Instagram, and so people were hanging off the screen. You didn't even see them on the screen and all that stuff. So that's the reason why it looks the way it looks. But like, share, and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, like the Facebook page. And so that whenever we send out notifications, hit the little bell. You'll get notified when we're going live. You'll get notified when we're making different posts. So if you would do that for us, we greatly would appreciate it. And with that being said, I'm going to let Chuck wrap us up. Chuck, you want to tell the people how they can get in contact with you?
Yeah.
We'll get ready to park.
Thanks, Rico. The best way if somebody needs me is just send me an email, chuck@traffix.com. If you have any questions as far as the business, or you need a hand, or you want to get set up with a Traffix office, let me know and I will introduce you. Make sure you put your phone number, because these days it's just a lot easier for me to phone you, and I'll help you any way I can. And with that, Rico, I'll let you back her in a hole for another week.
So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we want you guys to stay safe out there, stay healthy. Different things are going back around. They got different, hearing RSV and all the other stuff is going on. Stay healthy out there. Stay safe. Keep it in between the mustard and the mayonnaise. God willing, we'll talk at your same time, same place next week. God bless you and good night.
Catch you on the flip flop.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks, Ray.
Again, Ray.
Thanks,
Take care,
Rico.
guys.